Joe Biden was declared by his own party not fit enough to continue as the nominee, as you remember, in late July. But he was deemed fit enough to finish out the next 7 months of his presidency. But I'll be candid, he's failing at a geometric rate. So he slurs his word, he loses his train of thought. And then that problem is compounded because his vice president is running as the replacement, but the 14 million people voted in our primaries for Joe Biden, and suddenly within a 48-hour period, that primary vote was nullified, and the current Democratic nominee, our vice president, has never entered, much less won a primary. We've never had anything like that in our history, where a candidate has just been, I guess you would say, forcibly abdicated, and then another person was picked in like a 19th century process in a back room and never entered a primary, and the primary voters had no say whatsoever. And then that person, Kamala Harris, because Joe Biden is polling about 41% and about 56% negatively, she is running as a hope and change, a new way forward candidate. And that's, to answer your question specifically, that's even more confusing for Americans as well as people abroad, because she does not want to run on what his economic, social, military, foreign policy agenda has been for over 3.5 years. But she, in other words, she says she is going to make radical changes to the left. So that begs the question, well, why didn't you do it as vice president or influence the president? But more importantly, why don't you do it now? Because once you've announced your agenda and the president seems to be not fully engaged, you would have a wonderful chance to implement these very radical. We've never seen a candidate, I guess, since Richard Nixon tried it and failed, wage and price controls, a wealth tax, an increase in the federal income tax up to 40% in addition to what the states could charge, increased inheritance taxes. We don't know to the degree to which her metamorphosis is a 90-day phenomenon, because she is kind of, in the last 90 days, changed all of her positions on the border, on mandatory buying of guns from private citizens, to crime, to everything. So we're bewildered because the candidate who is the vice president, we don't know to what degree she agrees with Joe Biden, what degree she is sincere that when she renounced most of her prior hard left positions, is that a gimmick to get elected? And of course, then we've never had at the same time since Grover Cleveland a president who's trying to run for a third term, except for Franklin Roosevelt, but I mean with an interrupted third term.